actually very few things. So licensing with BI is we have an authorized user basis. So it's either you buy the minimum, you buy your administrator, and then you have your different roles in BI. So a couple of years ago, you would have had 14 or 16 odd different users and try and figure out who can do what and whatever else. And they've now changed it. So we now, besides our administrator, we only have 3 different other BI roles in your environment. And you would have noticed, if you go to, I think, the 3rd or 4th last page where your entitlements for Cognos Analytics entitlements are, that's your BI entitlements, you would have noticed about 18 months ago when you did your renewal, it automatically just changed. So if you had a professional user, it would have just become an Analytics Explorer. And if you had an enhanced consumer, it would have just become an analytics user. Okay, so IBM automatically gave you this added functionality into your new role so that you only have 4 roles to maintain. Okay. Everybody's familiar with that table around what those roles are. Or we'll just include them in the pack if you guys aren't. Okay. So what did they change it to? They essentially said from an enterprise role, you've got your BI advanced user. And this is just where we sit and we say if we start combining a tier 1 user with a BI user, we either call it the advanced user or an enterprise user. In this environment, we say this is someone that has admin functionality and user functionality at the bottom end. What you guys need to focus on is essentially these 3 roles here. So you've got your analytic administrator. That's just your plain administrator that you had in the past. Then you've got your forward-looking architect, and that's essentially, it gives you BI and SPSS, a combination of your BI and SPS all in combined, so your BI administrator with your SPSS functionality, your analytic explorer and your analytics user, and then you've got your information distribution user, which is an authorized named user or a PDU-based license that you've got. Okay, so we've gone from 14 to those 3 licenses that we now need to manage, which I think from a security point of view will make it a lot easier for you guys. Okay. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to say for forward-looking BI, you can buy 1 license to get your SPSS license and your BI capability together. So for you guys who's interested in, Nabil is the guy, you all know Nabil. Stick up your hand, jump up, get excited, our predictive specialist. So what's really exciting is if you've got a BI administrator today, you can trade that license in and add on your forward-looking BI capability, and it's a lot cheaper than going to buy your SPSS license separately. Okay. So you get some value in terms of just looking at trading those licenses up. But from a normal basis, we can say you've got your Analytics Explorer, and who of you guys are familiar with if you have a distribution-based license instead of an authorized named license? So, then I'm not going to talk to you guys again. But basically what it means is you can buy, instead of buying an authorized name license, so Lorraine carries her license and wherever she goes, it goes with it, you can say, I'll buy my licenses from a server base. So I really don't care how many people I put on that server. I can make it anonymous users, but I essentially go and buy the license and spec it based on how big my server is, so how many cores I have on my server. So similar to the guys who's got TM1 or performance model, you can do that in the BI space as well. Okay. You can't convert your named users, unfortunately, to PDU licenses. Okay. Then we've got our analytics user, and then we've got this information distribution, which used to be a PDU license up to December, and now it's an authorized named user license as well. Happy? See, this is why I said we're going to do the exciting stuff after. Okay, I've included this one just in the presentation when it gets sent out to you guys to give you a little bit of idea of what is the capability in each of these roles in terms of what you're able to do with the different roles that you guys look at. And this is the table that I mentioned to you. So essentially, you guys have seen this. So it used to be lots of many roles. Now we've only got the 4. But it just says in each of these, what is the BI capability? And if I have a license, what do they have access to? So in the past, you used to have consumer, and they had like 3 things. Now, the role that you'll start off with is you'll start off with your analytics user. And essentially, if you had a consumer in the past, what you would look at is you would look at the information distribution license going forward. So they don't have offers, but they've got everything else that the consumer license used to have. Okay. So when we look at your securities, this is really the things that we need to make sure that you guys give your access to your users correctly. Happy? See, very last slide. I wanted to include this because I want you guys to have a look at it. And I really want you to see, if you're interested with the SPC stuff that Nabil spoke to you about earlier on today, and you want to start playing around with some of that functionality to say, how can we use our BI administrators to look at some of the predictive capability? And are we interested in maybe looking at running a pilot and trading up those users to say if we can add up some of the predictive capability into those? So I just left this in here because I know you guys are going to look and study these presentation slides tonight and tomorrow and be ready for the IBM licensing tests. Or you can just phone us and we can help. Okay. So any questions? So that's basically it, eh? There's only 4 roles to manage, not 15, and that makes life, should make life a lot easier for you guys. Okay. Questions? Can I hand over to Christine and to Jill and Nabil to do some great stuff for us on the new versions? Sorry, I'm asking to take my phone so that it doesn't tell you that you've finished with your presentation. There's no question. No, we did that for you.
Okay, so before we show you we're going to show you 2 different versions of Cognos just quickly, but I just wanted to take you on a little bit of a history lesson. Does anybody know if they're still on Cognos 8? I hope not, really, because that was released in 2006, 10 years ago now. Can you believe it? But it was at that point that really the whole Cognos went web-based. Before that, it was very normal desktop kind of power play impromptu those days. So the whole concept of web-based and a metadata layer with framework manager and all that sort of stuff, that was what came in Cognos 8. And then Cognos 10 was released in 2010, and then through that there was 10.1 and 10.2.2. So I don't know if you know which version you're on. Hopefully you're on 10.2.2, which is the latest version currently that you should be on. Yeah? And really, what's included then in Cognos 10 at various sort of stages was the bigger concept of self-service BI. It started being called Business Insight, and then they renamed it to Workspace and Workspace Advanced. Rave, which Nabil's going to talk to, mobile and the active reports, dynamic queries, dynamic cubes. So that's kind of was the big thing with Cognos 10. And then what I'm going to show you is now, which is now called Cognos Analytics. We thought that it wasn't going to have a number, because at first they said they weren't going to give it a number, and we thought, but we like numbers. So actually it is Cognos 11. People talk about C11 now. And really, as you can see, it's just basically building on what was already there. So it's the same stuff still there, but now a lot of focus on things like the GUI. You'll see a very big difference. Some user-driven modeling, which I'm not sure I want to actually go into, and a slightly better Rave engine, and just nicer, just really, really good. So what we're actually going to show you is Nabil's going to show you a little bit of 10.2.2, your current version, but maybe some elements of that version that you're not really using to its full. So just to remind you, this is stuff you've got, and maybe you can use it better. And then I'm going to show you the new stuff, which was released. It was really the 28th of December, but call it early this year. Okay.
Right, so you're all familiar with this, public folders, Cognos connection. So this is version 10.2. So there was like Jill said, the first thing I'm going to show you is I'm showing you the workspace, Cognos workspace. So Cognos workspace had a bit of a redesign from version 10.1.1, which was called Business Insight, and then so they renamed it to Cognos workspace. And Business Insight Advanced was renamed to Cognos Workspace Advanced. Okay, so that's the tool for self-service, the technology for self-service built in within Cognos BI 10.2. So all of those, what I've got here is a dashboard that's been created by a user. Okay, where what they've done is each of those different things that are there are specific widgets. Okay, so each are different widgets, and each of those widgets might be coming from different reports or different data sources. So this might be coming from a SQL Server database, this might be coming from a Teradata database, or some other kind of sources. Okay, the idea with Cognos Workspace is you can integrate all of those different widgets or all of those different artifacts from those different sources into one dashboard and visualize them all together. Okay. So you'll notice here, I mean, there's things that you can do, which is obviously like filtering, and within those individual widgets themselves, you're able to have the normal functionality of drilling down and drilling through. Okay, so for instance here, if I'm looking at cameras, if I want to drill down, I can drill down specifically on that widget to go and look at the different cameras. If I want to drill back up, I can go up. And if I want to look, if I want to drill across and look at, for instance, here I'm looking at the computers and I want to understand this a little bit better, I can actually go to and obviously just go across to a different report, which will show me further details about those specific computers. Okay. Cool. And then obviously your normal functionality of obviously you make your selection and then you can obviously export your report to Excel or PDF. The other thing here that's actually quite cool is within all of those different widgets here, you can interact with them, right? So if you're looking at this widget here at the bottom here, where it's got different KPIs across different territories and different time periods, let's just say I don't actually want to see it like that. I want to see it in a different way. You can click there and it gives you some kind of a row to, you can swap your rows and columns around. But let's just say, okay, well, I'm not really interested in just that. I'm looking here and I can see my revenue, I can see my variance percentages, but I actually can't see my planned revenue. So as a user, if you've actually created a dashboard like that and made it available to him, he can go and create his own thing. So from obviously your metadata layer, which is your framework manager model. So if you click on the widget there, you'll notice there's a little icon here that says do more. So what that does is when I click on do more, it opens that, that dashboard or that widget in Cognos Workspace Advanced. Okay? Now Cognos Workspace Advanced gives me access to my metadata layer. Okay? So that's where you will see on the side the metadata that comes in, and this one obviously is very nicely structured. I'm looking at sales data here, so if I go into my profit analysis, for instance, I'm looking at planned revenue, so I can drag in planned revenue, drop it in here, and click on done, and it gets updated on the side here. So it's very much self-service for the user. So what you basically as an organization, what you would do is you would expose that framework manager model or that metadata layer to them, and you would just allow them to obviously drag and drop things and create their own thing. So it also can be in a very much controlled environment because you dictate what you are showing in that metadata layer or that framework manager model. Okay, so that's that. And then the other thing is, say for instance, the user is looking at this dashboard and he realizes, well, I actually don't see one of the charts or one of the artifacts or one of the report objects that I created before. So if you expand it on the side here, you get access to your Cognos connection, and you can drill down, you can go further and look at your report objects. Let's just say, for instance, I'm looking at some kind of a pipeline here, and if you open the pipeline, it gives you all the different objects within that report. And for instance, I want the pipeline by sales. If I drag this here and I drop it here, there I've got my chart that pops up. Okay, and he can go and obviously save that into my folders and obviously share it with users and schedule it in order. Okay, so that's Cognos Workspace. Now what I'm going to show you now is Cognos Workspace Advanced, and I'm going to show you how to create a report or a dashboard in Cognos Workspace Advanced. So from Cognos Workspace itself, if you click on Launch, you get access to Cognos Workspace Advanced, right? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a very I'm going to create a report which is a sales rep performance. So we're looking at sales rep performance across different time periods by revenue. Now you'll notice here with Workspace Advanced, one of the new features that they added is templates. Okay, so if I click on New from Template here, it gives me the option of picking different templates that they've added in Cognos. Okay, so you've got, when I'm talking about template, is you're looking at the layout of your report, the layout of your dashboard. For instance, here I can actually just pick one of them, which is 1 down by 2 by 2 template, just to show you the concept, where you're no longer thinking about this pixelation and you're going to have to create different objects and have pixelation and create those different sections. All those sections are created for you by just selecting a template. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a blank new one. Okay. Now, if you start with the blank one, the other new thing that they've added is there's also a page layout at the top here, where you can lay out your page in different sections as well. Okay, so I'm just going to create a full section here. So first thing I want to do is I want to create a cross tab, and I want to bring in my sales rep. So the idea here is I want to try and get the top 10 sales rep by revenue across different time periods. Okay? So I'm dragging my revenue here, and you'll notice I've got all of the sales rep, and I'm not really interested in all of them. If I want to look at only the top 10, with the self-service technology, it allows you to right-click on Explore, top or bottom, and top 10. Okay, pretty quick and pretty easy. The other thing that we've got now is if you want to create a chart and visualize that on a graphically or on a chart, you know how you would create a chart before where you would have to drag the chart in and then drag in your dimension and drag in your measures. But with Cognos 10.2, they've added something here where it intelligently picks up that there is a crosstab on here, and I can actually fill up the data with crosstab 1. It picks it up as crosstab 1, so I can fill up the data with crosstab 1. And obviously I need to select the proper visualization here, but just for interest's sake, I'm just going to leave it as a column chart. Might not be very pretty, but at least it gives me some kind of a visual. Okay, cool. So that's Cognos Workspace Advanced. Now the other thing is obviously you're going to go and save that as into your public folders or into your My Folders. So now what I want to show you the next thing is the Rave visualization. So besides the charting engine that we've got in Cognos, they've added a new visualization engine called Rave, which stands for Rapid Adaptive Visualization Engine. Okay, so it's those very cool, funky charts that they've added. So here this is some kind of an employee survey that they've done, and they've got some, obviously, like I said, very cool visualization here, besides your normal column chart and pie charts and whatnot. Here at the bottom here, you've got some kind of a bullet chart where you get different KPIs, you can actually visualize on one graph. I've got some kind of a packed bubble chart here, okay, showing different products by revenue and different product lines, or different order methods. Here I've got, this is an interactive report where I've got, once again, packed bubble chart, nice colorful column charts here, and some nice area charts as well. Okay. Within Cognos Workspace as well, you've got obviously new visualization that you can bring in. Here I've got some kind of a word cloud where obviously the font size represents the bigger, so the higher the revenue, obviously the bigger the font size. So this guy here, Daniel, he brought in the highest revenue. On the side here, I've got some kind of what we call a polar area chart that shows the different chunks that the different products are taking in, once again in terms of revenue. And here I've got a tree map. At the bottom here, a very cool one, it's a waterfall chart. So the waterfall chart is basically showing you here, this is the total revenue that I've got, and these are the different guys that actually contributed to this revenue and how much each of them contributed. Okay. And I've got one more to show you, which is a very cool one. This is a sales, it's a network diagram or a network node. Okay, so the idea here is if you're doing some kind of an HR kind of report, or you want to try and look at linkages between different things, what I've got here is this is a sales staff network, so it's looking at different sales staff, who are their managers and who is reporting to whom. And if I just change to the different areas here, so it's just very interactive and very visual. Okay, so that's the Rave engine. Okay, just carrying on. The next one that I want to show you is active reports. So how many of you guys are using active reports? Nobody. Wow. Okay, so active reports, the idea behind active reports is active reports are those self-contained reports that actually has the data in there already. So it can be consumed offline. Okay, so that's the idea behind active reports. So, and it's also very interactive, as the name suggests, right? So, for instance, here, if I click here, and it's usually designed to be consumed on a mobile device, and I'll show you guys how it works on the mobile device just now. But just to show you the idea behind the interactivity. So if you send that through to, if you distribute it across the organization, someone can be offline, doesn't necessarily need to be connected to Cognos, and they can still visualize the data and still interact and understand things, okay? So this is just one of the examples. I've got multiple ones, but I'm just going to show you two of those. Okay, this one is a bit, it's a more financial kind of report. And you'll notice here when I'm clicking on the side, this would be your swiping functionality on an iPad. So if you're visualizing that on an iPad, you would be swiping around to be able to get those different things. And like I said, obviously you can interact with each one of those. Okay? Okay, so that's the active report, and I'm going to show you now afterwards. I'm going to unplug my computer just to show you on the iPad. But the last thing, I think, so I've covered active report, Rave visualization. We're going to cover dynamic queues, but before I switch off my, so the tab report, sorry. So the tab report, so one of the new features is tabbed reporting. Okay, so remember how when you would create your report in Cognos, you would have, And if you've got, for instance, you've got a chart and then you've got a crosstab. Okay? Oh, actually you've got a crosstab or a list and then you've got a chart. Now remember how when you run your report, if your list spans multiple pages, you will have to actually click on page down, page down, page down, page down, and then you'll get your chart, right? But now what they've done is they've created those tab outputs. So you can create tab reports where each of these artifacts or your cross tab can be one tab, your chart can be a second tab, and your list can be a second tab. So each of them can still have their scrolling and their page down. It's perfectly fine. But if you want to look at your chart, you can still go back and look at your chart. Okay. So how to set that up? If you click on File, Report Properties, you'll notice here when you start off by default it will be no. View Pages as tab as no. Or you can put it as top left, which means your tab is going to be on the top left, or you can put your tab as bottom left. Okay, so I'm going to put it as top left, and I'll actually run that report just now. Okay. And there we go. So I've got my chart here, and I've actually labeled my pages. So each of these here are my pages, okay, that I've labeled as chart, cross tab, and list. So on the chart here, you can obviously visualize your chart. If you want to go to your cross tab, okay, fine, I can see my cross tab. I want to page down. You can still page down. At any point in time, you want to go back to your chart, you can still go back to your chart. And I've got a list here also, which obviously makes it quite easy for me to visualize the different ones. Now, you probably have the question of, okay, well, what happens if I try and export that into Excel? What do I get? So obviously the answer is pretty simple. If you try and export that to Excel, you're basically getting 3 tabs in Excel three sheets in Excel, each one showing the different tabs. Okay, so I'm just going to try and open that quickly. And there we go. So at the bottom here is chart 1, cross tab 2, and list 3. Okay, cool. So now, last thing I want to show before I disconnect is something I tried yesterday, where I don't know if you guys have seen that, but you can embed Google Maps in your Cognos reports. Okay, not very complicated either. Actually very simple. And if I click here, you can actually visualize all of those different locations on Google Maps. Okay, cool. So let's just quickly have a look at, before I hand over to Jill, I just want to quickly have a look, show you guys the iPad application, or the Cognos mobile app. I'm sure most of you guys have seen it, but right. So what they've done is they've created this app on the iStore that you can download for free, or on the Google Play Store. Okay, you can also download that for free. Which is called IBM Cognos, and that's at the bottom here. So if I create an active report and I distribute it to my users from Cognos Connection, you can actually send it through to your mobile device. Okay, so there's 2 ways of sending it to your mobile device. You can either send it through right through to your Cognos mobile app, or you can send it through via email. So if I send it through via email, I'm just going to open up my email here. You'll notice here the active report comes in as a .mht file. So if I click on the .mht file, the only way that I can open it is in IBM Cognos Mobile. Okay, so you need to have an app installed before you can open it. Now if I open Cognos Mobile, I'm just going to go through one of the sample reports that I've got here. Once again, built using Cognos. Just a very simple one. Well, it's not a simple one, actually a very complicated one, but looks very fancy and very cool. But it's showing different KPIs on there, and the idea is just that interactivity that you get with the dashboard, with the iPad. Okay, so you've got the striking functionality at the top here. So you're looking at key metric by different service plans, for instance, and you've got your map visualization right here, which allows you you can use the map as a prompt. Okay, so instead of using drop downs to look at the different areas of the UK, you can actually click on the different areas of the UK and use that as a prompt. Okay, so it's very interactive, very visual, and the last thing that I want to show is, well, obviously if you're using that and you're deploying that across the organization and you're giving it to your CIO or your CEO who's offline and who's mobile or who's out there and he actually wants to have a look at that, but then he says, okay, well, I noticed here, you sent this to me, but I noticed something a bit wrong here, right? And you want someone to actually investigate that. You'll notice the little icon at the top there. There's a little pen at the top here. So if something looks a bit funny, for instance, you can highlight it and just question mark and just share it and email it to someone and say, well, just please go and investigate that. Okay. Pretty cool, right? Not good. Not good, yeah. Okay.
That's trouble.
Cool. So now you're going to see, so we're just going to talk you through Cognos Dynamic Cubes, which is also one of the new features of Cognos 10.2.2.
Okay, so just chat amongst yourselves while we just swap laptops and I don't know, set stuff up. I'm old school like that. Action pass. Oh, I don't want you to see that yet. Okay. So I don't want to go into too much detail here because I want to leave enough time for the other thing. But has anybody started using dynamic cubes on 10.2.2 that you have? Okay. Has anybody heard of dynamic cubes? I think you might want to do that. Okay. So just quickly want to explain to you what they are, what they're for, and yeah, where they would fit. So basically, a dynamic cube is an in-memory OLAP cube. Okay, so I know probably many of you are using transformer-built cubes, and then you're using Analysis Studio or maybe even Cloudflare Studio on top of that, just to look at that. So you've got something like Transformer, which is going and building your cube, and it takes maybe, I don't know, a few minutes or an hour or something, or maybe longer, to build up that cube. Yeah? So what a dynamic cube is really saying you don't need to have that sort of moment of building cubes. It's really as you're using Analysis Studio or Workspace Advanced in the same way, you are querying the database directly at that moment, okay? Unless it's cached. So the main thing with the dynamic cube is that it's allowing you to have much more real-time access to your data. It's allowing you to have huge amounts of data as well, because you might have data that is so huge it actually can't really work in Transformer. Because Transformer has been around since I started in BI, and that was like 1992. I'm very old. So obviously our volumes are now much bigger these days, and it doesn't really work necessarily in Transformer. So dynamic cubes is a potential option there. There are a couple of, obviously all these things, if you want something snazzy, you have to also have some provisos. So the one big thing is that, I don't think it's on this slide, let me just keep going. Sorry? Yeah. Basically, you need to have a star schema or a snowflake, preferably not a snowflake schema, but you need a proper designed star schema. Okay, so you can't build a dynamic cube off a sort of a maybe Kimball thing. It has to be an actual textbook star schema. You also need a server with adequate memory, because the whole purpose of the exercise is to cache and pre-aggregate the data up into memory, so that it's fast for the users. And yeah, so it really comes into play when you've got large amounts of data, real time, and a star schema. That's your kind of starting off point for a really good dynamic cube. Okay, I don't want to go into too much technical details. There are some really nice white papers and all sorts of things around sizing hardware, and if you really want to know stuff, Phil is your man, wherever he is. Right away, there he is. Okay, any questions before I go into the other thing? No? Okay. Right, now this thing's been open. I hope it doesn't. I'm actually going to just close it. Can't see. Okay, so again, I'm going to open it up in Firefox. So this is the new version of Cognos, called Cognos Analytics. And as I open it there in Firefox, you will see it's already completely different. So for those of you who've been using Cognos for a long time and you're so used to Cognos Connection, the portal, she's gone. Okay, no more Cognos Connection. When I first saw this in Las Vegas in November-ish, I had these kind of mixed feelings. On the one hand, I was thinking, oh, it looks so cool, it's snazzy and everything, but then I started feeling like, yeah, but how do I do this? And but will I still be able to do that? And as I've worked with it a bit more and more, I've realized actually all the stuff is there. It's just been given a bit of a make-up job. Facelift. So as we said, it came out early this year. So it's a very early release. I would say, just for yourselves, give it a first fix pack before you even start thinking about moving. But I just wanted to give you a kind of a preview of what it looks like. Okay, so first of all, as you can see, your opening slide very different. I'm just going to maximize this. And actually what it's done is quite clever because it's realized that my screen resolution is somehow smaller, so it's collapsed a little bit of the side stuff. When I had it not on the projector, the sidebar was fatter, but it realized, oh, I need to save space, so it's kind of collapsed it. Basically, that's just a sort of search functionality, and then you will be very used to my folders and public folders, right? So it's the same kind of concept, it's just that they've now renamed it, it's called My Content. Same place, same concept of this is where you save your own stuff. And then instead of public folders, it's called Team Content. So basically, it's stuff that you would share with everybody. And what's also quite nice is that it's now got a kind of what you've recently viewed. As you see, I've recently viewed quite a lot of stuff. So you'll also notice that the way that we navigate is different. So there's this kind of concept of flying out. Oh no, see, that's what happens when you demoing. I'm clicking, but nothing's open. Oh, because I'm clicking in the wrong place, actually. Yeah, sorry. So these are folders, and you click, and then it expands, and that's how it works. But if you don't like that idea, you can actually go and do it in the old-fashioned way and click there, and then you get more of a breadcrumb type idea. So it's a similar sort of thing with a breadcrumb, and then the things. And this is then when you see on Cognos Connection right now on the far right-hand side are all the sort of action buttons. And they're there, they're just neater, so they're there as this kind of thing. Okay. So really what they're trying to do is just make it look a little bit more modern, slicker, just nicer. Okay. Actually, I don't really want to run that report, so I'm going to run a different report. I'm actually going to run the same report that Nabil showed you in 10.2.2. And so that you can see actually it's basically the same. So one of my first things that I did when I installed the software was I did a deployment of my own reports on here from 10.2.2 to Cognos Analytics, and it was exactly the same. I made a deployment package, copied the zip, blah, 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 I did it, brought the data package over, it's exactly the same. Worked, it just worked. What they did say though is if you've got reports that are heavy in JavaScript, you might run into some issues, which is kind of normal with most of the upgrades, I think, because JavaScript is. But, see, hopefully you won't need so much JavaScript anymore, of course. So here's a normal report, it's a normal thing, kind of, prompts and what have you. But what they've done, one of the biggest things they've done is they've tried to make it less complicated. So right now, I mean, we've had to learn that there's Workspace and Workspace Advanced, and some of you are using Report Studio and Analysis Studio, and maybe even Query Studio. And so there are all these different things, and you kind of almost as a user need to know what you're going to do, which tool to use for which purpose. Okay? And it does tend to be a bit confusing. So one of the big things that they've done with this version is to try and eliminate that understanding and just almost give you a graduated experience of saying, I want to run a report. Cool. Now, as a user, I want to do a little bit of something to this report, because I can. But now I'm a kind of a power user, so I'm allowed to do a bit more, so I want to be able to do a little bit more, but I'm still not really a full author yet. But now I am a full author, so now I want to do more. So, and you'll see as I work, it's kind of, I'm not going out and into different studios and in the same place, but I'm just almost opening more doors as I go. Okay. So one of the main things that they did was they've completely rebuilt the what they call the report viewer, so this thing that we're looking at now, so being able to just view a report. And up till now, normally you run a report, you can do prompts and what have you, but a user wants to say, yeah, but actually I want to change this report a little bit. I want to sort it differently, or I want to exclude some stuff. So now what they can do is without anything special, with no JavaScript, nothing snazzy, straight away, all users can do certain things. So they can go along and say, actually, I don't know, I want to exclude Eric from this list. So just take him out, okay? So this is a normal report that I've just run. I'm not in any kind of authoring mode or anything like that. And then I might say, well, actually, I don't want to sort it like that. I want to sort it my way and just sort the report. So, I mean, how many times have we built reports for users and then they just want to do that little bit extra? They just want to sort it. And then we've built in all sorts of very complicated ways of making them sort. Yeah? Don't have to do that anymore. So right on the surface, what they've done is they've given the users a few basic things that they can do. They're not messing with the query, they're not giving access to like change the logic underneath. It's just some basic stuff, filtering and sorting. And then they could then go and save this, but now they can only save as. So they would save this as a view in their My folders, My content somewhere. Okay. Making sense? So that's quite nice. So what I want to do is I want to take it a little bit further. I'm going to say no, I don't want to save it. I'm actually going to just get rid of this thing. I'm actually just going to build a report from scratch. So as I said, right in the beginning, we've got these My content and then Team content and recent, and down at the bottom is a little plus button. And really what they've established is really what does a user want to do? They want to build a new report or a new dashboard. Maybe do some data modeling if they're allowed, but let's just focus on these two for now. Okay. So it's not like I have to choose Report Studio, Workspace Advanced, or which one. I just want to create a new report. Okay. So I'm just going to create a new report. And much like, and now for the people who develop in Report Studio, you're starting to feel a little bit more at home. Okay? Because now the little icons have changed here, I'm just going to grab something. And starting to see exactly the same package that Nabil had opened before. And now what we've got is different icons. We've got, this is our data. This is a bit of a toolbox. So this is where all my things are that I would normally have had in my toolbox somewhere. And this is a little bit more, this is almost like, for those of you who really know Report Studio well, is that middle bar, that explorer bar in the middle, you use for looking at your queries and doing all your conditional formatting and what have you. And all those. How many of you have had that thing where you've got a very complex report and it's lots of queries, and then you have this fly-out query thing, and then you miss, and then it snaps back and it's just irritating. So that's what's here. So there's my little query that I started with. There's a little pin. Small things. Okay. Anyway. So you can pin it open if you want. And then you can unpin it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I just want to quickly, very quickly build a very, very simple little report. And I just want to give you an idea also again of the sort of interaction. What are we doing? We're doing returns by order method and by retailer type, something, I don't know. That's very simple. And by, I don't know, product line, something like that. And then I just want the quantity. Okay? And then I'm the report, and did you see it? Created a little summary of it for me. So I'm the report developer, and I've decided that this report's going to be grouped by order method and by retailer, and I'm going to sort it on product line, something. Okay? So that's just my report. Let's just run it. And then we see that it ran. Okay, so lovely. So now I'm going to save this report. So now it's all great, and I've done my job. And I'll go home, and everything's lovely. Okay, then my user comes to work the next day. See, just close him. And opens that report, runs a report. And as I said earlier, you can do certain things off the bat. How many of you have to, well, many of your users might export to Excel, and then this thing's grouped, and then it's a real problem because you can't filter it and do stuff. So you want, the user says, no, it's lovely, it looks nicer there, but I need to ungroup that. So now I'm just the user, I'm not the author anymore, and I'm just going to ungroup that, and I'm going to ungroup that, and I don't know, just group on something else. So what I'm showing you is just how the user can straight, without any fancy coding, do stuff, okay? Then, right, that's that, okay. I just realized I didn't show you the other main thing, which some of you will be thinking, yeah, but I'm a report author, I need to do complicated things. So let's just go back to that report. Sorry, I forgot to show you this. So this was the same thing with just the waddy. So here's a little pencil. Okay, so at the surface the user can do a few things. Now you want to give the user the access to do a bit more. You want to change this entire report. Now instead of closing it and opening it again in some other tool, you just click on the little pencil. And it's just got some prompts that it needs some values for. Okay, now I am actually in Report Studio-ish. That's where I'm at. Okay, I can do a lot more. And you'll see that now, again, this has exposed me to my data package and things. So now I can start dragging in data as if I'm a normal report author. Okay, is this making sense? Then if I show you this, then you'll kind of go, oh, okay. Here's the properties thing. There. Okay, so in Report Studio at the moment, it's kind of over here, that block. It's very pokey, and you spend your life scrolling up and down or maximum. But now it's nice and big, and you can basically open it and close it. And depending on where you are, obviously it's going to show you different properties depending on contextually where you're at. Okay, so then I can just close it again, just close it, whatever. Is this making sense? So this kind of graduated thing of going very simple sorting and grouping and ungrouping. Then I can expose a little bit more. I can click on the pencil and show me my data and let me do almost like a workspace advanced type of work. Or if I'm really like fully into development, I've got everything. I can see all of that. I can see the queries behind this report. Everything is still there. Okay. When I saw these queries, then I got much more comfortable. Because in reports in Workspace Advanced, you don't see the queries. Okay. How are we doing? Okay, you're getting it. I think for what I've shown you for right now, it's really only kind of cool for the people that are report developers right now, and for some power users, because it's simplifying. So what I'm going to show you now is, oh, I didn't show you the little notification. That's also quite a new thing. So you see this little, as a user, I was pretending to be a user last night, and I said, okay, I like this report, and I said subscribe, and then I said, okay, send it to me whatever time, and then it sent it to me in the middle of the night. So I got this little notification, and then it just says a new version of this particular report is available. So I'll just click on that and see. Okay, so also just a way that the users can at least be notified that there is something new that they are particularly interested in. Okay, now I'm going to show you another piece, this building a dashboard. Okay. How many of you have worked or played around with Watson Analytics at all? Anybody? Yeah, a little bit? Okay, so what you will see now is some very similarity, a lot of similarity between the user interface and some of the features around Watson Analytics being brought into Cognos, and that's probably also why it's called Cognos Analytics, because they're trying to kind of combine these two. So I'm going to build a little dashboard. Again, similar to Workspace, we've got these templates and things. I'm just going to pick a pretty simple one. Okay, and I need to get some data. Now, I was actually talking to Stefani earlier, and I'm really tired of the great outdoors. So I was looking for some other data that I could use, that I'm allowed to use, because I can't use customer data, your data, not right. And so looking for like public data, and I found the City Council have got this thing called the Open Data Portal. It's amazing. You can go there, you can just download a whole bunch of stuff. You can see their budgets for the last 5 years, and everybody that's reported a fire, and you can see taxi routes, and it's just amazing. Okay, done. So I found a very simple, okay, I grant you, it's a very simple data set. And it's all about, very relevant at the moment, the levels of water in our dams. Okay. It's very, what I want to show you is what the data, just quickly look. This is the data that I downloaded from their website. This is how it looked. So when we see this kind of data as a kind of report developer type person, we hate this because it's like, can't really do much with it, all these formatting. So I very quickly just turned it into something very boring that just looks like that. Okay. I uploaded this data into, oopsie, that's my place. And there it is. So these are my columns. I've got a dam, the name of the dam, the type of the dam. I didn't know there were major and minor dams, but now I do. The year, because we've got data from 2011 to 2015. The capacity that the dam can hold, the total amount of, I don't know, liters, kilo, mega, trillion liters. And then the current volume in that thing, and then I just worked out a capacity percent. Okay, so that's my data. So now, say I want to go and say, okay, well, what's the capacity of my dams? I just drag in this number, and I pop him over there, and it just gives me a big number. Okay, so it straight away says, okay, I know this is a number, and I, assume I'm going to sum it. If I didn't want to sum it, I could just quickly say, no, actually, I don't want to sum it, I want to average it, but actually, I do want to sum it. Okay. Then what I could could say, well, that's meaningless to me because that's all the years added together. I can't add Steen Brussels, you know, all the years. So let's break it down by year. So what I'm just going to do is drag year on top of that number. And then it figures out that maybe I've got one sort of dimension and one measure. So maybe I can draw something differently. Okay? But again, every year, unless we build more dams, it's pretty much the same. So that's boring. So let's have a look at our volume. So now I'm going to pop volume onto this. And I've got two measures and one dimension. And so it's done this. So it's figured out a visualization on its own. Okay. Now I might actually prefer to have a different visualization. So I'm just going to click on here and I'm going to say, no, I don't really want that bar thing. I want maybe a pie chart. No, I'm not going to have a pie chart. So I've said, no, I actually want a combination chart. And still it's not really working for me because that's me. So really I just want to swap those two measures around. So I'm just going to drag that there and just swap them around. Okay, so now I've got a little chart. Then let's do a similar thing. I'm going to take volume again. I'm going to pop him over here. Maybe do by that. And now maybe I'm going to put the actual dam name on here. Okay, so again it's trying to figure out a better, nice visualization. I don't want that. I want to have a stack bar. Okay, so now I've got a bit of a slightly view. It's actually very interesting when I was looking at this data, thinking that even before this year started, we were already in a bad situation, very bad. So we were doing quite well with our water, and then in 2015, I don't know, we all had long showers or watered our garden or something. So I'm sure if we see the 2016 data, it'll probably be down here somewhere. It's very scary. Okay, so now what I want to show you is what happens if I drag on a thing that's not actually a number. Because remember when I dragged it on, it just gave me a number and then it has been building. I'm going to drag on this dam type. So I'm just going to put it over here. So it knows that this is just a text. Oh no, there's just two values, major and minor dams. Check here. So it's already figured out that there's a connection between these two, and it says, well, maybe before you even build anything, it's actually created a prompt for me. So straight away, it's a prompt. Just like that. And then, this was the thing that really made my day. How many of you have seen that that Ted Rosling thing about no more boring data or something, where he goes through a timeline of statistics and what have you? So I've gone into my visualizations here, and there's a thing here called a data player. And you could use various items, but I am going to use year as my data player. I'll just pop them in there. And now I have a prompt, which is the years. See the little play? I'm going to press play. So now I'm not doing anything. It's playing. Okay. So, I mean, obviously it's going, because I've got years in that, it's basically just stepping through. But if I had other data, it's actually going to, it'll change the data. I'll show you one. And then, imagine you're doing a presentation to your people, and then you want to point out something like the 2014, and I can pause it, say blah, blah, blah. Let's focus on major as well. So I'm still on 2014, but I can also filter on the other stuff. And then I go, okay, let's carry on with our story. And then, so you go. So you can, instead of having to build a dashboard, take it out, put it in PowerPoint for your presentation, don't do all of that. You can just present straight from here. I think that's quite nifty. And then, you can make like, I don't know, text stuff or, little pretty things. I found this little cloud that would be appropriate. Make him another color. So let's get, again, the properties thing, let's make him blue, I don't know, take the properties away, whatever. So you can start building up. And I mean, that was pretty quick. So then I thought, okay, no, that's too easy because the data is like really simple and easy. So I found others that actually have been done before with proper data. So I created this other one, which is now from a proper database and it's built, properly. So same, I've got this little data player, I've got some little things here, and then I can kind of focus in on Central Europe, Northern Europe, I don't know. And again, play the data, etc. And you can embed stuff, so this is actually a little video that will play. I haven't got my sound in, so the idea really is to try and create a really good story in your dashboards with movement. Let's just play this, see it moving. So there you can see it moving through the years and how things are now changing through the years. And at the same time, filtering on something else, all sorts of things. What do you think? Oh dear. They can make amazing things, but you still need power. Nuclear, coal, whatever. I didn't plug in.
Jill, can you take this to an active report?
I haven't tried, but I don't. I haven't tried. I can't answer that question, but I'll have to try that out. But that's a good question. I'll try. Whoopsie. Where have I gone with my? There you are. It's there. I'll try it. I don't know. Because I mean, they are just really report objects, so I don't see why not. What did I want to? There was one last thing I wanted to show you. Oh, you said the other thing is just very simply a user can say, you know, I like a particular report, make it my home page. So say a user, we've decided that this is your landing page, but maybe they don't like that landing page, and they want to say, no, actually, I want to make this report my home. So home was successfully set. So now every time they open this URL, they'll go straight to that particular report. And you can always just change it back to something else if you want to. And then for those of us who are really sort of feeling a little bit nervous about, but where do I do all the other important stuff? You'll see the last little thing here is called Manage. And if I click on Administration Console, you'll start feeling a little bit more at home. And it's like, oh, okay, that's what it's like. But actually don't, as far as I know, they're going to still work on this piece as well and make it also look like the other kind of GUI. So, but they haven't quite got to this. The first focus was really just to focus on the user and keeping the front end kind of cool. And then the, sorry for us IT administrator people, last. But the same sort of thing, it's exactly the same. I'm going to run out of battery in a minute, but anyway. So it's the same stuff. You've got, you've got data sources, you've got deployment packages. So on the one hand, very different. On the other hand, the infrastructure and the architecture is the same. So it's kind of nice. It's a balance between, easy user interaction, nice self-help, but also governed at the same time. So it's not this kind of separate thing on the side. Okay, how's that? Cool. I want to get, actually, should we just share the video on your thing? Just for a bit of fun. Oh, I see, it's only 4:10. Hold on for ages. As a funny sort of end, we've got a hilariously, I don't know if it is really funny, it's kind of cheesy, really. It's very cheesy. Yeah. Built by IBM, a little video about what's it? BI superhero. Office superhero. so it's just to kind of close off the day with a bit of laughter.
We have the sound.
No, but plug it in. Yes, it's on. Very good. Hello. While he's setting that up, does anybody have any questions or worries or concerns or thoughts about Cognos Analytics? Or maybe I should sort of frame that question a bit better, not just generally change management, as in moving, as in deploying.
I think from our point of view, also we've got a lot of users in different distribution channels and things like that, so it's not even close to power users. So it took us like 15 years to get them going on where to find information and things like that. So it's just, I think, a change management process on our side. So the one side is the actual development team itself, that we can actually do quickly. But it's actually guys where's the information and all the additional functionality and that type of thing. So I think that will be probably the biggest. It's not just a quick move like
No, it's not,
from 10.1 to 10.2 or something like that.
Technically, it's actually not as bad as I thought, but moving the users is harder.
Yeah.
I didn't actually show you, but there was, I don't know if you saw, where I went into that new and I had report, dashboard, data module, and there was an other. If you click on other, then it opens up Analysis Studio, Query Studio, Workspace. So, yeah, I mean, they're still there. They're just, they try to kind of put them behind the scenes, but they are there. Query Studio as well. Move on. Okay. All right. So now a little sort of movie to brighten your day. Cheesy.
Ben just wanted to fit in. But the day everyone in his department started using IBM Watson Analytics, his untold power was unleashed. With access to so much sales and marketing data, the game-changing opportunities he could uncover seemed endless. And with Watson Analytics' expert storybooks, had become unrivaled. Though he would certainly let them try. Why fit in when you can rise above the rest?
So thanks for that. Thanks to our presenters, Alan, Nabil, Jill, and Lorraine. And I do want to ask that you make use of the opportunity to engage with us. We consistently hear of people struggling with our technology or the IBM technology or not getting the return on investment that they should be getting. And really it isn't necessary because across our country we've got great experts, we've got a brilliant team, and we're here to help. Whether it's in the finance, particularly for the BI side. So please, won't you talk to, if it's finance, Alan, if it's BI, come through Carl, if it's licensing, Lorraine, but we've got a team that's ready to help you to try and help you to be more successful. So some of the stuff that you saw today is pretty new, but for most of it, it's out there and it's working. And still we find our customers lagging behind a little, if I can be diplomatic. So we're here to help. Please stick around. We're here for a few hours still. Don't rush off. Something to drink while the traffic's settling down. And make use of the time just this afternoon to connect to people like Jill and others that are experts in your field. Okay, anything else I needed to say? Lorraine, Priscilla? Just please the evaluation forms. If you can complete that, give it to Priscilla to help us. And then if you can spread the news about our golf day, you'll see all the information about that in the folder. Thanks so much.